Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Ol'SargeCollects. My name is Dan, and this is episode 20 of the Diamond Stars set. I can't believe we're already at episode 20. So that means that by the end of this video, we will have covered 80 cards from the set. And to be honest, I only have one card left to collect out of the whole set, and that card is the Jimmy Fox. So hopefully I'm able to collect that before the end of the year. And I would like to finish this series by the end of the year, so that would be nice. I've got some great cards for you today, and these cards are all Hall of Famers, and I actually have to jump out of sequence again, out of numerical order, because all of these cards are new pickups to me, and they're all cards I haven't covered yet, but I've had to skip their numbers. And so just some huge star power in this episode. But let's talk about last episode. And in the previous episode, we covered Bill Rogel, which was card number 76. And we also covered one of my favorites, Charlie Gehringer, in card number 77. Joe Cool, who's got the coolest name in the set, and that's card number 78. And then we've got Willis Hudlin in card number 79. So I'm going all the way back to the beginning of this set, and this is a huge pickup for me. And that card is card number 1 from this set, which is the Lefty Grove. So let's talk about Lefty Grove. Let's get that situated there. All right, let's learn a little bit about Lefty Grove. I'm going to try to speed their bios up a little bit because of, how long of a career they all had and how many accomplishments they had. I don't want to spend forever doing this video. So, card number 1, Robert Lefty Grove. He was born in Lonaconing, Maryland in 1900. He made his major league debut in 1925 as a pitcher for the Philadelphia Athletics. Grove is arguably one of the best left-handed pitchers of all time. He pitched for the Athletics for 8 years before Connie Mack traded him to the Boston Red Sox in 1933. He led the American League in wins in 4 separate seasons, and strikeouts 7 years in a row, and had the league's lowest ERA 9 times. He was a 6-time All-Star. He won the Triple Crown in back-to-back seasons in 1930 and 1931. He was voted the AL MVP in 1930, and he was a 2-time World Series champion in 1929 and 1930. He is a member of the 300 Wins Club, with his win-loss record being 300 over 141. He amassed a total of 2,266 strikeouts during his career. He retired in 1941 and was voted into the Hall of Fame in 1947. Robert Lefty Grove died in 1975 of a heart attack. He was 75 years old at the time of his passing. And in 1999, he was elected to the Major League Baseball All-Century team. So let's take a look at the back of the card first. And this is a green back, and let's focus here. There we go. It's a green back, and it was done in 1934. It gives the stats for 1934. And the back of the card, it has a pitching tip. And the back of the card says, boys under 16 should be careful not to overlook or strain their arms in trying for too much speed. And then on the front's a very good, nice-looking front, clean-looking front. This is in an SGC4. The sky is yellow, and the wall is blue, with the bleachers being in red. You've got Robert in the foreground. He's in his Boston Red Sox uniform, and he's in the follow-through of his pitch. It doesn't have a lot of great detail, especially if you look in the hat. There's no B or anything on the hat. It's just kind of a plain hat. But the attention to detail is actually in the back, where you've got a player in the background fielding. So looks like to be the first baseman back there. Anyway, that's the Robert Lefty Grove card. Now let's talk about the next player in the lineup, and that is card number 14. This is a card that I recently showed on a VR that I had, and that is of Bill Terry. So let's talk about Bill Terry. He was born in 1898 in Atlanta, Georgia. He made his major league debut in 1923 as a first baseman for the New York Giants, and he played his entire 14-year career with the Giants. Bill Terry's best year was in 1930, where he finished first in the National League with a .401 batting average. He was the first player to hit over 400 since Rogers Hornsby did in 1925. It is also the last time to date that anyone in the National League has hit 400. As most of you are aware, only Ted Williams of the American League hit over 400 back in 1941. While there was no official league Most Valuable Player award in 1930, Terry won the Sporting News Most Valuable Player award. It's no surprise that Bill Terry was the National League batting champ in 1930. He was an All-Star 3 times in his career, from the inaugural 1933 season through 1935. He became the Giants' player manager in 1931, replacing the legendary John McGraw. Bill Terry and the Giants won the World Series in 1933 against the Washington Senators. 1936 was his last year as a player. That year, the Giants won the pennant again, but lost the World Series to the New York Yankees. He continued on as manager of the Giants until 1941, when he resigned and named teammate Mel Ott as his successor. His lifetime batting average is a .341, which is the highest career batting average for a left-handed hitter in the National League. He compiled a total of 2,193 hits and 1,078 RBIs. Remember that this was over a 14-year playing career as a manager. So as a manager, he led the Giants to 3 National League pennants and a World Championship. In 9 full seasons as a manager, he only had a losing season twice, while finishing in the top 3 of the league 6 times. So no Giants manager would lead them to a 3-league pennant until Bruce Bochy did so nearly 70 years later. Now, if you don't know, Bruce Bochy is the current Texas Rangers manager who just led them to the World Series championship. So the Giants have retired his jersey number 3, and Bill was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1954. Bill Terry died in 1989 at the age of 90. So let's take a look at the card. This is by far one of my most favorite cards in this set. And this is a greenback, and the back has a fielding tip, and it says the first baseman must decide whether to try for the ground balls that are wide of the bag. It says that Bill Terry would try for every ground ball hit his way and would place the burden of covering the base on the pitcher. Now let's take a look at the front, and I'm going to draw attention to the same aspects of the card that I drew attention to in the more recent VR that I did. And that is that this is probably the only card that's, I think, portraying a night game. And 1935 was the first year that baseball did night games. So you've got Bill Terry here in the forefront. You've got a shadow underneath him right here. You've got the buildings are silhouetted in the background with a dark yellow sky. The billboard and the back wall are lit up. And as a friend pointed out, even the billboard has a shadow right here. So like I said, Bill Terry is in the forefront. He's got his Giants uniform on with all his, creases in his uniform or wrinkles in his uniform. He's outstretched and grabbing for the ball. This is a great image of a ball player. Any player in this set, if they had this image, would be a great card. And so just one of my all-time favorite cards in the whole set. All right. The next player is going to be just an amazing ball player. And this is a card I've been wanting to pick up for a long time and was finally able to do so. And that is of Rogers Hornsby. So let's learn a little bit about the Raja. He was born in Winters, Texas in 1896. And he made his major league debut in 1915 As a shortstop for the St. Louis Cardinals, Hornsby is regarded as one of the best hitters of all time. He played with the St. Louis Cardinals from 1915 to 1926. In 1925, he was selected to be the player manager of the Cardinals, and for the remainder of his career, he was a player manager with every team he played for. In addition to the Cardinals, Rogers also played for the New York Giants, the Boston Braves, the Chicago Cubs, the Cardinals again in 1933, and the St. Louis Browns from 1933 to 1937. In 1920, Branch Rickey moved Hornsby to second base, where he remained for the rest of his career. Due to his success, by the 1922 season, Hornsby became the highest paid player in the league history to that point. In 1922, he had a batting average of .401, which was the highest in the National League since 1897. He won his first of 2 Triple Crowns that year. In 1924, Hornsby raised his average to a .424, which is the fourth highest batting average in a single season in Major League Baseball history. No player has matched this average since. In 1925, Rogers had a .403 batting average and again won the Triple Crown. In 1926, Rogers, as the player manager, took the Cardinals to win the pennant and the World Series against the New York Yankees. After demanding a larger salary, the Cardinals traded him to the New York Giants for the 1927 season. This began a series of being traded to multiple teams over the next 5 years until he landed as player manager with the St. Louis Browns. Hornsby was a bad gambler and was difficult to get along with, both of which caused him to have constant tension with the club leadership, which would finish out his career with the Browns when he retired in 1937. He finished his career with a .358 batting average. He compiled 2,930 hits, 301 home runs, 1,584 RBIs. He is the only player to hit 40 home runs and bat .400 in the same year. That happened in 1922. Additionally, Rogers was also a 2-time National League MVP, a 7-time National League batting champion, a 2-time National League home run leader, and a 4-time National League RBI leader. He is also one of 4 players to ever win a decade Triple Crown. So he led the 1920s with the most in home runs, RBIs, and highest batting average. The other 3 players in this category are Honus Wagner, Ted Williams, and Albert Pujols. He was elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1942. Unfortunately for Hornsby, when he retired from Major League Baseball, his pension wasn't enough to pay off his gambling debt. So he signed as a player coach for the Baltimore Orioles and continued in the minor leagues and international leagues until 1945. In later years, he managed the St. Louis Browns and the Cincinnati Reds. Along with Ty Cobb, Rogers Hornsby is regarded as one of the meanest ball players and one of the best hitters in baseball history. Rogers Hornsby died in 1963 at the age of 66. Now let's take a look at the card. I just knocked over old Sarge. Let's take a look at the back of the card first. It's a green back, and it's a 1935 back with 1934 stats. So it's got a batting tip for the back. And it says, practice swinging before a mirror at home to see whether you're getting the easy freedom and stepping to meet the pitch while putting your legs, back, and arms into the swing. Don't take your eyes off the ball until it hits your bat. Now, the front of the card is another favorite of mine. It's a rather simple card with Rogers Hornsby just standing in the foreground. But what's most interesting about the card is the background. This is one of the few cards in the set where you see fans in the background. And I really love looking at the fans in the background of this card. You know, you can see the old fedoras and the way they would dress in their suit and ties. Very formal looking, as they used to dress in the back in those days. So he's in his St. Louis Browns uniform in this card. So that's what I love about that card. And again, one of my most favorite cards in the set. Now, for the last card, happens to be my favorite player in the whole set. And this is another card that I recently showed in a VR that I did. And that is of Mel Ott. Mel Ott is a local hero here in the New Orleans area, particularly in the area that I live in. He is from a town very near where I live. And so he was born in 1909 in Gretna, Louisiana. Now, I have dinner in Gretna, Louisiana just about twice a week. I'm sorry, twice a month. So let's learn a little bit about Ott. So Mel Ott was a franchise player with the New York Giants, and he got his major league debut as a right fielder in 1926. Ott was unusually slight in stature for a power hitter at 5'9" and 170 pounds. Ott led the National League in home runs 6 times during his career. He was a World Series champion in 1933. Mel was selected to be the player-manager for the Giants in 1942, succeeding teammate Bill Terry. And he was an all-star for 12 consecutive seasons from 1934 to 1945. He was the first National League player to surpass 500 home runs. For 18 seasons, Ott led the New York Giants in home runs. This 18-season consecutive dominance is a record. No other player has ever led his team in more consecutive years in a single Triple Crown category. Ott was a National League RBI leader in 1934 and was also the first National League player to post 8 consecutive 100 RBI seasons. His career batting average is a .304, and he compiled 2,876 hits, 511 home runs, and 1,860 RBIs. He retired as a player in 1947, but continued to manage the Giants until 1948. He was elected into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1951, and he was named manager of the Oakland Oaks, which was in the Pacific Coast League, in 1951 and 52. So if you aren't aware, he has a Oakland Oaks manager card, and that's from a Mother's Cookies set. So if you want to look that up. In 1958, Mel Ott was involved in a car accident and died several days later in a hospital. He was only 49 years old at the time. Here in Gretna, there's a park named in his honor, and there are also many plaques and displays in local museums mentioning him as a local hero. So let's talk about the back of the card first. It's a green back. It's from 1935, and it gives the stats for 1934. It's got a batting tip on the back, and the back of this card explains how Mel Ott practices his swing of the bat, and more importantly, where the bat meets the ball. It says that timing comes from long batting practices. Now, the front of this card, what's most important about it is that choke that he's got on his bat, as he was known to do. He was always known to choke up on that bat. This card has the sky is blue. The wall in the background is red. It's got green grass, and the sand is yellow. Mel Ott stands in the foreground, and he's always got a very serious look on his face, as he does in other cards as well. And it just gives some of that detail to a 1930s Art Deco style of artwork. So, all right, so that is Mel Ott at card number 50. And I hope you really enjoyed this longer episode. It was longer more because all of the players in this episode were Hall of Famers and had more accomplishments during their career. But I hope you enjoyed it. And stay tuned later this week for some more episodes. And until then, keep hunting the good stuff and take care.